Okay, I wanted to explain how I'm getting my answers on the 2526 skills practice worksheet. When I work out the worksheet, I have out my reference guide. I'm ready to use my reference guide at any time. The first question asks about two planes intersecting in a line. I found those two planes. I looked to see where they intersected. They did intersect at line R. And then I'm looking at my reference guide to pick which postulate matches that. It has to be postulate 2.7 because that is the only postulate that talks about two planes crossing at a line. Number 2 says line P lies in plane N. So plane N, it's up here at the top. Line P lies in plane N. Well, I know it has at least 1 point here in plane N and 1 point there in plane N. So although it doesn't look like it, it must, because I know there's a postulate that talks about if 2 points lie in a plane, then the entire plane, if 2 points lie in a plane, then the entire line lies in the plane. And that is postulate 2.5. G and P are collinear, meaning they're on the same line. Well, I'm given point G, I'm given point P. I need to prove that there really is a line in between those 2 points. We have a postulate that says through any 2 points there is exactly one line. So I think it's postulate 2.1. I think you could try to argue for 2.3, but in my mind, since they named the points came first, so it's 2.1. Number 4 says points D, H, and P are coplanar. D, H, and P are 3 points inside a plane, so therefore they are coplanar. It's either going to be postulate 2.2 or 2.4. That's when we get to this argument of who was there first, the points or the plane. In my mind, since they named the points and mentioned them first in the problem, I think the points were there first. So I want to say 2.2. But I can see why you would think it might be 2.4 as well. Now I actually get to the fun ones with the proofs. In the figure at the right, point B is the middle of AC. So here's AC, B is in the middle. We know if B is in the middle, then AB is congruent to BC, but we'll come back to that in a second. Point C is in the middle of BD, so BD, well, BC and CD are congruent. It says write a paragraph proof to prove that AB is equal to CD. Well, regardless, my first step is going to be my given. So B midpoint of AC C midpoint of BD. My next step is the markings that I added. I already put them on my picture. I just have to write them in words. So because B is the midpoint, I know AB is congruent to BC because B is the midpoint of AC. I also know BC is congruent to CD because C is the midpoint of BD. Now I think you could then say AB equals BC, BC equals CD, and we're dropping the lines in the squiggles, so I think that's definition of congruence. So by definition of congruence. And then step 5, I would say AB equals CD. And I would probably argue that's transitive property. The transitive property is something that most people don't see. we already said in line 4, AB equals BC. And then we said BC equals CD. So are you surprised that we skip this middleman and go straight to just AB, just CD on the last line? Now, you could argue for it to be in a different order, but regardless, you can't mess up that given on step 1, and you cannot mess up at the end of what you were supposed to prove. Okay, number 6, can't mess up the given, can't mess up the proof. Maybe you can mess up the in-between. We're subtracting 2x from both sides, so it's the subtraction property. I'm replacing 8x minus 2x with a 6x. I'm replacing 2x minus 2x with a 0, technically. So that's why it's substitution. I want to add 5 to both sides. Addition property. I want to replace 1 plus 5 with a 6. So technically, again, that's substitution. I'm dividing both sides by 6. And I'm replacing 6 over 6 with 1, so it's substitution yet again. We've used the substitution property quite a lot in this problem. Seriously, over to the side of my paper, I would probably solve it out normally. Like, what would I have normally done in math class to solve for x? And the proof is just me explaining step by step how to do that. So I normally would have subtracted 2x first. Hey, no surprise, that's what they did on step B. I know 8 minus 2x is 6x, but sadly that requires an extra step because we're replacing 8x minus 2x with a 6x. Next, you would tell me to add 5 to both sides. Well, hey, that's what I did on line D. Then you would tell me 1 plus 5 really is 6, so I'm replacing 1 plus 5 with a 6, so technically that's substitution. I divide both sides by 6, no surprise, it happened on line F, and I'm replacing 6 over 6 with a 1. Yay, that's what I got on line G. Okay, and the very last one on the worksheet says click on click to verify the conjecture. If PQ is congruent to QS and QS is congruent to ST, then PQ equals ST. PQ is congruent to QS, QS is congruent to ST, then PQ equals ST. Well, we see their dashes match, so it probably makes sense. First step's the given. Next step, I'm going to say PQ is congruent to ST, and I'm going to call that the transitive property because I've skipped the middleman. It was PQ equal to QS. It was QS equals to ST, so what lets me skip that middleman is the transitive property. Step 3. I'm just going to drop the bars for the line segments, and I'm going to drop the squiggle on the congruent symbol. Anytime I'm dropping the bars in the squiggle, I want to say that's definition of congruence. Could you have had a few more steps? Of course. You definitely could have. But if you got the main gist, you're good to go. Okay, that's all you need to know for that worksheet.